My next guest is the organizer and first among equals at Concellation, the science fiction and fantasy convention or non-convention that's always canceled. Please welcome with me, Christopher Ambler. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Gadi. How you doing?
Pretty good, thank you. Also joining us will be Helen Montgomery, who has a unique view on the entire Concellation project as it unwound. Was that the right term to say? I would say as it grew and exploded. That would be more correct there. We also have Chris Garcia, our Toastmaster, who is also joining us for the next panel, and he'll also do things here. And with that, Helen, please take it away.
Sure. I'm Helen Montgomery. I am coming to you from Seattle in Washington. I was, according to Facebook, I am a founding member of the Concellation. And Christopher Ambler, you are the one who started this whole madcap scheme. So for those of you who are unaware, can you give us an introduction to what the Concellation is and how you came up with that?
Sure. But first, since we're doing props, I won this bracelet for the poker tournament at the, I believe it was 2011 Rocky Horror Picture Show convention. I've never been nominated for a Hugo.
Nice. Can you move it closer to the camera? I'm not sure I can see it. Show off.
But nice. I do intend to keep things going. As a fellow Chris, I would like to be nominated for a Hugo someday. So you and I should get together and discuss strategies.
Helen, I believe you did bring us some surprise of your own today.
What, my prop?
Oh.
This whole thing?
What is that? I don't recognize that.
Doesn't everybody have one? So anyway, so what happened was I was kind of just joking around on a Journeyman of Fandom Facebook group. And I just joked. I said, you know, somebody ought to start a convention that's been canceled before it could even be announced. And I said, let's call it Concellation. Because, you know, every good con has to have con in it. And then Craig Glassner, who is he does these things, he just said, good idea, do it. And he went and created the Facebook group and made me an admin and said, you know, you don't have a choice, it's happening. I thought it was just going to be a joke. I thought we'd post a few memes, we'd post a few pictures of empty halls, you know, the panels that have been canceled. And amongst ourselves, you know, maybe a couple score of us, we would have a good time for a couple days and laugh at it. Within 72 hours, it was approaching 10,000 people. It's currently over 33,000 active members. 32,000 plus have actually joined the group. Another 1,000 or so just read. And I actually posted a chart today showing activity. Obviously, in the first week, it spiked. And then it went back down, and I thought, okay, this thing has legs for a couple weeks. It then went back up a touch, and it's been steady state. It's growing by a couple hundred people a day, which in Facebook terms isn't a lot. But what it's saying is that people are sticking around. People are staying active. It's got 300 to 400 posts per day. It's getting tens of thousands of comments per day, close to 100,000 if you consider the likes. It's ridiculous. I'm floored.
So when you're looking, I'm a psychiatric social worker by profession. And so one of the things that we have often learned about in social work school is how groups form, right? So you talked about the forming process, but then things happen after that. The next stage in group development is generally called storming. And my understanding is that there was some of that from what I could see. Gadi brought me in as a potential moderator, and while I haven't been doing active moderation, I've gotten to sit back in the moderation group and watch how you're all handling it, which has been hugely educational, and I'm really grateful for it. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges that the Concellation had as it grew so quickly?
So the initial challenge was, in my opinion, the only real challenge that there's been so far. And that, I've never heard the term storming, but that makes perfect sense. There were a number of people who came in and decided they wanted to make it what they wanted it to be. And very quickly, it was easy just to tell these people, I'm sorry, no. The nice thing about Facebook is it kind of constrains what you can do. You can remove posts, comments, and people or not. And that's it. It's not like I'm running a website where I can go and edit things. It's not like a real world con where I have to have people escorted out. And Facebook actually is pretty darn good about letting you have only one account. Most people don't create sock puppets, which still to this day surprises me. So they haven't come back. And in fact, there was one person who, you know, demanded that things be made in their particular image of how they wanted it. And I used a bit of, you know, my negotiation training to look at what he was asking for and give it to him. A famous quote that I love is, negotiation is the art of letting the other person have your way. And so I looked at what he wanted, and quite a bit of it just made perfect sense to me. And I said, great, that's a fantastic idea. Go do it. And I'll be happy to enact what you want because it's rational. Haven't heard from him since. He didn't have time. So it's very simple to tell people when they start, you know, demanding freedom of speech and everything. I'm sorry, no, we're not going to have, you know, straight COVID memes. We're not going to have politics. We're not going to argue religion. This is my living room, and I've invited 33,000 of my friends to a dinner party. And if you start peeing in the punch bowl, I'm simply going to ask you to leave. And that's worked.
That's the third stage of group development, is what they call norming, right? Setting the norms, the expectations, and all of that. So I know for the group you have a set of rules. Facebook, I think, makes you call them rules. In the real world, we'd probably call it a code of conduct.
Right.
What have you found to be some of the most effective rules or moderation techniques that you've put in place so far?
So there are two things that have to be moderated in a group like this. And one is important and one is trivial, but also important. The trivial, but also important is rule 4. This has been seen before. The meme of the Star Trek red shirts being asked to go to the market has been submitted over 1,000 times. It's real simple just to click the rule 4 button. And I tried to word all of the responses as respectfully and casually as possible. So I said, you know, we love your sense of humor. Please understand, with 33,000 people, somebody beat you to it. And everybody has completely understood that. And I actually created a subgroup for memes where I said, you know, you want to post this 5,000 times, have at it. The important rules are the obvious ones, or at least I would hope to everybody who's interested in this video, obvious rules. No hate speech, no bullying. Just the things that, in my opinion, and I hope everybody's opinion, are no-brainers. And when that happens, the key to moderation in this case, in my opinion, is silently. You don't make drama. So people who post flounce posts, people who post the meta posts about how, you know, my last post was deleted and I want to discuss it. No, those are going to be deleted too. You want to discuss it? Fine. Do it in PM with me. I'm stuck at home like everybody else. I have copious spare time. Narrator voice. No, he doesn't. but I'm happy to discuss it with you. So if somebody posts something that is even borderline offensive or hate speech or whatnot, I'll just simply say no. I'm going to reject this. Please do it on your own timeline if that's what you do. And if you continue doing it, what Facebook lets you do is you can mute them for a day or 3, or you can ban them entirely. So I might just mute somebody and say, look, I don't want to kick you out of the group. You know, you can have your opinion. I hesitate. I hate saying you're entitled to your opinion. I like Harlan's quote. You're not entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to an informed opinion. But I like telling people, you know, go say what you want where you want to say it, as long as you're not advocating hurting anybody. But for here, this is kind of a safe space. We're here to have fun. We're here to take the load off each other. So in terms of moderation, it's an all or nothing. And in my opinion, it's done quietly and without drama.
So I've noticed, being part of the moderators group, that you and the other moderators will often consult with each other. So, you know, you'll say, hey, this seems borderline. What do you think? And that seems to have been working pretty well. What are the other guidelines that you have for your moderators to use?
Precious few, mainly because Gadi kind of helped me with this in suggesting a number of people who would be good moderators for this. And I'm a big fan of adult supervision. So I just said, yes, please, I trust you, invite who you want. And in that line, if I'm not prepared to have you be a moderator on something that I consider my dinner party, then I'm not going to trust you in the first place. So I will do that often. If there's an in-joke that I don't get, I'll ask the other moderators, am I missing a fandom relation here? And in fact, I self-moderated myself yesterday. I made a meme that was admittedly political in nature. And I thought it was hilarious. And I posted it in there and I said, I'm going to self-moderate myself. You guys agree this is a little too political? And most people said, yeah. And I said, okay, I know. I still think it was funny. So yeah, I like letting the moderators do their thing.
One of the things that you've done with this that I think is absolutely remarkable is that you've actually turned it into a vehicle for good, in that you started selling merchandise on, I think it's Teespring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started as a joke. I wanted the shirt myself. So
right.
I just went with print on demand, and that took off too.
So can you talk a little bit about what you've done with some of the profits from the merchandise sales? So
I was looking at the money coming in, and a little bit came in, and my first thought there was, well, I'm going to pay my designer. Because to quote Harlan again, pay the author. Right. So pay the artist. And then the profits started going a little more than that. And then a little more than that. Now, I have a day job and I can work from home. And so I am beyond grateful and I feel very privileged. I didn't want to keep the money. So once it started getting to a particular threshold, I started thinking, you know, where can we donate this to? And I'll tell you, the first challenge was when I asked a few people, everybody had their pet cause. And it started turning into a beauty contest. And that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I said, you know, let's go a little more generic. And I went around and I looked for charities that were a little more generic in nature, a little more broad, and that were unassailably doing good and not wasting money. So the first one that came up was Doctors Without Borders. I actually got a 100% unanimous thumbs up from over 30 people that I just randomly talked to, 30 people whose opinions I value. So we donated $1,000 to them. About a week and a half later, we hit another threshold on the profits. This time I wanted to do a food bank. So I went data-driven. I picked 10 cities that seemed to be most hard hit. I then picked, or actually not 10, 8 cities that were most hard hit. Went onto Charity Navigator to find the food banks there that had the best ratio and the best ratings. Randomly put them in an order, 1 to 8, in no particular order. And then this actually floored me. I sent an email to Will Wheaton's representation. And I said, could I get Will to do a quick video, roll an 8-sided die to randomly pick a city to give $1,000 to their food bank? Because again, I don't want it to be a beauty contest. And, you know, in rolling a die, who's the first person I thought of? You know, Will's a gamer. Right. Within 3 hours, I got the video back. So big shout out to Will Wheaton. And he thought it was pretty cool. So he rolled, Chicago was picked, and Chicago's food bank got a $1,000 donation. I also want to give a shout out to my employer, GoDaddy, who's matching. Unfortunately, it's not unlimited, but it's more than 4 figures. So, nice. So they're matching, and I've exhausted that for the year now, which I think is great. We are actually ready now for another $1,000 donation. I've picked the charity and I've reached out to their spokesman who has a tie to fandom. Unfortunately, I haven't heard back yet. I'm giving it till Monday, and if not, I'm gonna try to find someone. So I would actually throw this out. If anybody, I'll cast a wide net here, and I'm shameless. If you know a celebrity in fandom, somebody that if they did a quick video would get some squeeze, I would love for you to put me in touch with them and have them help promo a charity, or if they've got a good cause, I'd love to work with them. it's entertaining the fans. It's good PR for the celebrity. And at the end of the day, we're doing some good and having some fun. So I'm gonna keep sequestering the money and throwing it at charity for as long as people buy shirts.
That's awesome. And it brings up a good point. How can people find the group?
So it's on Facebook. It's called Concellation, Concellation. Concellation. I win. And the URL, facebook.com/groups/Concellation, I believe will take you straight to it. But if you just do a search, you'll find it. And then there are a number of subgroups. There's one for artists, one for dealers, and one for memes. And then we also have a masquerade, which we ran early, and Kevin Roche helped me MC that. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. And now people are just posting, cosplay in there.
Right. Tell me a little bit about the artists and dealers subgroups.
So I created the artist subgroup just to kind of sequester the art to make it easier for people to find it. I created the dealers group for the same reason. The dealers group, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I wish I had 3 reasons because I'd love to say triple-edged sword. Part of it is we don't want the main group to be filled up with people selling things, people asking for donations, and all of that. But on the flip side, that's not only legit, that's good. I want the dealers to have a place where they can sell stuff online because they are really hard hit. So I created the dealers room group. It's got about 1,500 members in it. Those are mostly the dealers. They become members so they can post. Right. Looking at the metrics, most of the members of Concellation are looking at the dealers room group. So dealers can then post there what they're selling. I've asked the dealers, feel free to bump your post once a day. Please don't do it more than that or it's just going to become screaming. But also if you're doing a Kickstarter, if you're really, really hard hurt and you've got to go fund me, I don't want to tell you no, put it in that group. I don't want to see the main group get filled up. And on the flip side, it would get lost in the noise. Right. So go to the dealers group. And I encourage people, go to the dealers group every couple of days. If you are in a position where you've got the extra funds, help out a dealer. Buy a book, buy some art, buy some jewelry, whatever the dealers are selling. These people don't get to go to cons now, and that's how they make their living. And think about how much money you're saving by not going.
Right.
So on that note, I think we should probably open it up for a discussion in the few minutes we have left. Helen, thank you very much for this, and please stay for the discussion. I truly believe you have had a unique vision throughout the development of this group. So I would like to bring Chris in right now and try to put this a little bit forward. And then after Chris, I would like to ask some pointed questions. And I will also say that we have a lot of people. I have actually worn my Concellation t-shirt today.
Hey, very nice.
Well. And we have a lot of people in the chat saying they're wearing their own. So it's
and I should do a quick shout out to Matt, who is the designer of the logo. He's my designer for all of my web properties. And when I asked him to do this, he jumped right on it. And I love his idea of the crashed spaceship. Yep. That resonates.
Yes. I also want to do a quick thank you. Jerry Sullivan on the chat did post the Facebook link for the group. So folks should be able to find it quite easily from that. All right, Gadi, Chris.
So let me ask you, Chris.
Yes, Chris.
Let me throw you a softball. What keeps you doing this? I mean, because it's work.
It is work.
Yeah, so what keeps you moving?
I did the website and IT for Worldcon 76, so I know what work is. And you know what? I would say half of it is keeping me occupied, even though I have a day job. I'm pretty efficient. It is entertaining. I will be 100% honest with you. Of the other half, a decent portion is ego. This is fun. This is making me feel good. I subscribe to the theory that there's no such thing as an unselfish act. The fact that I'm giving money to charity, the fact that people are saying, thank you, this has saved my sanity for a time, makes me feel good. And I'm cool with that. So that's kind of what gets me doing it. And also the fact that when people act like D-bags, I can just show them the airlock and move on.
And realistically, how long do you think you see yourself going on?
I see this becoming steady state in a couple months. I could be wrong. At first, I thought it would flame out quickly. Now I don't think it will. I think this could just become a generic place for fans to gather and chat on Facebook just because of the network effect. This is where the people are, so this is where the people are. And if that's the case, I'm cool with that. And you know what? When life comes back to normal and I'm traveling again, I might ask some more people to help moderate just to keep things civil and let it simmer.
Oh, cool. And so the big question I have is, again, softball, what has been that moment that you realized this is going to take off and get bigger? When did the hockey stick of the evolution go up?
Yeah, literally the hockey stick. When I saw 10,000 become 20,000. And the fact that people were posting things that I hadn't even thought of. You take all the duplicate posts out and somebody posts a question and the first thought through my mind is, that's a good question. I've actually never thought of that before. That's when I knew that this thing had legs. The other thing, which is kind of weird, the 93rd time somebody asked, what's that movie that you thought you'd hate but you ended up loving? And it still gets 900 comments. That's when I knew that this thing would take off.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And so here's a question that I always ask people because I think it really examines how they look at Facebook as a thing. Do you think that it is performing the needs of the con or the needs of the Facebook user?
I'm going to answer that by saying there is no spoon. I mean, there is no con. This isn't a con. This is a Facebook group. This is a Facebook group of 33,000 like-minded individuals who have the technology to get together. We couldn't have done this 30 years ago. So it's performing the need of the user.
Interesting. And of course, we all know that the users are the evil ones. Ask any sysadmin.
Yeah.
But Gadi, what do you got? You must have something. Something pointed, perhaps?
I do, but before I go pointed, we actually have the amazing Jerry Sullivan asking a question, and she also said that she's wearing a shirt from the Concellation group. So her question, when you first started the donations, you talked about alternating public and fanish charities. Where does that stand?
I really want to do a fanish charity. The problem I'm having is every time I bring it up, it turns into a beauty contest. Writers versus artists versus vendors. And then people start talking about their favorite bookstore that's just going under, and that's the bookstore that should get the money. I really, really want to do fanish charities. I don't want it to be a beauty contest. I solicit ideas. I am not the smartest guy in the room. I try to play him on TV, but if anybody's got an idea of how to donate money to fanish charities that isn't a beauty contest, get in touch with me. The money's there.
Fair enough. Jerry also mentioned here that early on you mentioned that your success metric for this is a real convention having a program item on Concellation. So she says, number one, you're invited to SMUFCon. Number two, are you coming to Montreal?
My travel calendar is now wiped.
No, really?
Well,
Really?
So those of you who are Facebook friends with me will know I travel a lot. It's a hobby. I travel for fun. This is depressed. This is my personal angst. It's white. That said, I told my wife the other day, my fan travel and my con travel is going to triple. So the generic answer, are you coming to blank, is yeah, I'd love to consider that. Send me an invite. I don't think that I'm big enough to ask for a per diem or my travel covered. I can do that myself. So the generic answer is sure, I'd love to.
It would be great to have you at SMUFCon to talk about it. So
absolutely, maybe even Helen can join as the moderator. That said, so before we finish up this part of the show and we move on to the rest of it, I actually wanted to dive deeper and take a little bit of a risk discussing the code of conduct aspect. Okay. So I know this group grew up exponentially fast. Within 2 days, we were at something like 15,000 people. And we didn't really scale. I mean, I started talking to you and I started helping out as well. We brought in new people and everybody tried to help. But doing all of that from a small, joking kind of Facebook group, moving into something huge and having a lot of community demands and people publicly shaming moderators who just stepped in 2 hours ago to try and start helping. It seemed, we can go into that, but perhaps not right now, but something that was interesting to me is how after everything was pulled together, after the moderation team was on top of things, after people started feeling the group and understanding what's going on and we showed results, we ran into problems that I find that code of conduct discussions usually just don't raise because they will explode on Twitter. And that is, let's assume that both sides are in the right. What do you do? So for example, I remember specifically, and perhaps other people would remember this differently, and that's fine. But I remember specifically where there was a person who shared their cosplay. When they were cosplaying, the person, I don't want to assume his gender, but for the sake of this discussion, a male shared his picture in a female stormtrooper costume. And people immediately jumped on this saying, this is shaming, this is transphobia, and this shouldn't happen. When on the other hand, we want to allow for a free forum where people can show their cosplay. And the discussion, everything that happens, I mean, you speak very clearly on things and you share from the experience of the last month how we make decisions now, but at the beginning, just discussing things openly up to this day. What's right, how is it right, how do we make these decisions, how do we make sure to be good people in general and adhere to the standards of the community. But when you encounter something, when both sides of the same debate, essentially, on the one hand, people who would say, let's be code of conduct adhering and let's not shame anybody. And on the other hand, we have somebody who would sometimes be shamed sharing their pictures openly. And these people are up in arms against each other, thinking the other side is doing something wrong. So how do you handle a situation like that? Because I will share from my own experience, it comes down to, unfortunately, for many people, we handled it a little bit differently, but for many people, it comes down to who will be easier to deal with or who am I less afraid of when I look at other conventions and how they act. So what did you do in this particular case?
Yeah, that's kind of the situation where you find yourself waking up as the driver of the car going 150 miles an hour. You didn't expect to find yourself in that position. Often, I mean, I can give you my personal philosophy. My personal philosophy on something like that is you've got a case where two people are fundamentally disagreeing, or two sides are fundamentally disagreeing on the interpretation of an event. You know, the person posting the pictures might be saying, no, this is me doing cross-gender cosplay, you should support me. And the other side saying, I don't care what you think, this is shaming. Both sides are trying to tell the other side what they think, which to me is kind of like the definition of bidirectional gaslighting. It's real easy to win an argument when you get to make the other side's point. In these circumstances, my personal philosophy is you get rid of the argument. You simply say, look, you guys, you can have this argument, but you're not going to have it here. This isn't where it's going to happen. The only question then is, does the post stay up? If the post stays up and you can't argue about it, the people who think it's bad are going to say the guy won. And if you take it down, the person who posted it is going to say the other side won because they stifled my speech. And at that point, as a moderation team or whatever, if you're running a con or whatever, you got to make your choice and stand by it. It might not be 100% correct, but you can't be at that point. And make your point as to why you picked the way you did. Stand behind it honestly. And if one side is more upset than the other, apologize sincerely, but say, you know, this is my decision and it has to stand. Again, it's my living room. It's a dinner party.
Well, Christopher, thank you so much for being with us. Gadi, thank you for asking me to help with the interview, and for you and Mr. Garcia to throw some softballs out there as well. Thank you to all of the folks on the chat who put up a lot of really great comments. And Christopher Ambler, you should definitely read them. You have lots of suggestions for Fanish charities that have come up. So with that, I believe we are out of time. So thank you again to everybody. And Gadi, back to you for what's up next.
Thank you for having me, Gadi.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And also, Gadi, thank you for all of your help in this. I don't know if that's been said out loud, but it should be. You stepped in and definitely gave some really good guidance. You still are, and I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Always good to hear about myself. Tell me more. No, I'm kidding. So with that, we're closing down this part of the show, and we're going to move on to Karen. So you chose a reading for us for today.
I have. As Gadi mentioned, I'm Karen Castelletti. This is a little short story that is sort of Reddit famous. The writer of this goes only by Wandering Bishop, which is just their handle on Reddit. And this actually, many Reddit famous writing pieces came from the writing prompts subreddit. This one actually came from the Dungeons and Dragons subreddit. And as we've been talking about leadership in crisis, I think this is sort of the sweetest, most cheerful version of a crisis of leadership that has come to my mind, that I've encountered. And I think that this piece, though charming on its own, does help from the question by hearing the question that prompted it to introduce it. And so the question the suggestion was, what if you built an adventure where an intelligent greatsword inhabited by an ancient paladin's lawful good spirit was found by a mean-spirited ogre, and the sword kept making telepathic suggestions. And it turns out the ogre is rather dim-wittedly susceptible to this particular sort of suggestion. So with that, I give you Wandering Bishop's piece, Garg and Moonslicer. I am Garg. I am strong. I am strong because I am ogre. No one in the forest is stronger than me. When I was young, the old ogres make the rules, hit me when I don't follow. Now I am older. I make rules. I go where I want. I eat what I want. I take what I want. One day I find something I want. Pretty pink skin sharp club. Bright stones on short round end and long sharp end shimmers like pond water. I want, so I take. Little hard-shelled pinkskins have come to my forest with sharp clubs before, long time ago. They smarter than others. They know that they can't hit stronger, so they need to hit better. I am going to use pretty sharp club to hit stronger and better. I am looking forward to using sharp club to hit. I am not expecting sharp club to hit me. Sharp club is alive. Sharp club is angry. It does not want what I want, and so it hits me. I have been hit before. I am strong so I can take hits, but it hits my mind, and I do not know how to hit back. For the first time in long, long time, I submit. Sharp club is strong. Sharp club makes rules now. Sharp club tells me what to do. Sharp club makes me stop fighting others in forest, makes me give up land. I do not want to, but sharp club makes rules now. I am not strong now. Eventually, sharp club stops being angry at me and starts being curious. Sharp club tells me her name. She is Moonslicer, made by pink-skin shamans for pink-skin warriors. I understand this. She was made to kill pink-skin enemies. But I am pink-skin enemy. She does not kill me. I do not understand this. One day while eating dinner, I ask Moonslicer, why do you not kill me? I don't understand your question, Moonslicer replies. You are pink-skin sharp club. Great sword, Moonslicer interrupts. And you are made to fight pink-skin enemies. I was made to destroy evil, Moonslicer answers. She always talks in strange riddles. I have become used to this. Yes, evil. I know this word. It means pink-skin enemy. I am pink-skin enemy. I am evil. Why do you not destroy me? Moonslicer does not answer for a long time. You are pink-skin enemy, yes, and most people would say you are evil, but I am not sure. I expected you to fight me, but you didn't. I expected you to resist when I told you to stop bullying the other creatures of the forest, but you didn't. Moonslicer is stronger than Garg, so Moonslicer makes rules. All the same, I think there might be some good in you somewhere. What is good, I ask. Good is, Moonslicer stops talking. I can feel she is confused. Good is, how to describe it? It is, she stops again. She is quiet for a long time. You know, I believe the best way to explain it is to show you. Go to sleep, Garg. Tomorrow, we will start doing good. Next day, Moonslicer leads me to Pinkskin home in the middle of fields. No Pinkskins there right now. She shows me broken walls, tells me to take stones and fix walls. Then we leave. I do not understand. Why do we fix walls, I ask. Those walls protect the humans from harm, Moonslicer says. They have been torn down by raiders over the years. By repairing the walls, you have made the humans more safe, more strong. Why do I make them safe, I ask. I am Pink-Skin Enemy. I do not want them to be strong. Patience, Garg, Moonslicer says. Have patience and faith. You will understand eventually. I do not believe her, but I say nothing. This does not make sense. This is Pink-Skin strangeness. For the next 2 seasons, Moonslicer keeps sending me out to Pink-Skin lands, fixing walls, catching cows, and taking them back to paddocks without eating them. Sometimes she makes me scare humans on roads. Sometimes she makes me hide from humans on roads. She calls the ones I scare bandits and the ones I hide from merchants. I do not understand the difference. The merchants are weaker humans, Moonslicer says. The bandits are stronger and want to take from the merchants. You are driving them away from the roads so that they do not take from the merchants anymore. This makes sense, I say. They are stronger. They take what they want. But why did they make me scare them so they cannot? Because it is not good for the strong to take what they want from the weak. This good does not make sense. I will never understand. You will understand, Moonslicer says. Have faith. For many more seasons, Moonslicer makes me do many things I do not understand. Eventually, Pink-Skins, humans, start to see me. At first, they are afraid. I understand this, but slowly become less afraid. They no longer run when they see me. I do not understand this. I dig long ditches from the river to their farms. I build walls along their roads. I bring large sacks of food to their towns and leave them there. One season, there is a great storm. Moonslicer wakes me during the night, urges me to leave the cave and go to the human lands. There is a town I have been near many times before. The river that flows through the village is flooding. The humans are splashing, shouting, drowning. They are scared. Moonslicer sends me through the flood to their homes. I lift humans from the water and put them at the top of the homes. I do this again and again. I am tired, but Moonslicer pushes me on. I save more humans. I wade through the water that is up to my chest. I save the male humans, the female humans, the young humans, the old humans. I save all of them. When the dawn comes and the water goes down, I am more tired than I have ever been. I sink to my knees. I know the humans will kill me while I am asleep, but I am too tired to get away. I fall asleep. I wake up. I am not wet, cold, or tired. I am warm, dry, resting on something soft and comfortable. I recognize it as human barn. I have brought escaped horses to these before. I am covered in many skins. I am lying in dried grass. The humans call it hay. A male human comes in. He sees I am awake. He does not run or look scared. Instead, he smiles. He brings a large bundle up to me. The bundle has meat in it. Good cooked meat, better than I've ever tasted. I watch him carefully, but I am hungry and I concentrate on eating. Once I am done, he takes the bones and the bundle away. The day goes by, and many humans come to the barn. Some hide by the door and only stare at me. Others come in. I recognize many of them as humans I saved last night. I am still tired, so I lie in the barn. I do not know how to describe it. The humans do not threaten me, but not because I am stronger. Finally, in the evening, many humans come to the barn. They bring Moonslicer with them. I have been negotiating with the humans on your behalf, she says. They are going to give you this barn to live in as a new home. They will give you food while you keep the roads safe from bandits and help them tend their flocks and fix their buildings. I will stay with you to guide you. I am quiet for a long time. I do not understand, I say. If I was strong and I came to take these things, they would not give them to me. They would run or fight. But you didn't come to take them, Moonslicer replied. And that is what makes the difference. You have made the humans' homes safe. You have protected their merchants. You have rescued their animals. And now you have saved their lives. And because you gave and did not take, they now want to give to you freely. And as long as you do not wish to take, you will receive. By serving them, you are now more free than you ever were in the forest, not because you are strong, but because you are a friend. They are your strength now, and you are theirs. That is what good is. And I understand. And that is the end of Garg and Moonslicer.
Thank you for that, Karen. I have to admit, you know, learning to write over time, there isn't a lot of descriptive language. There isn't a lot of things to pull me in, but I cry every single time at the end. I don't know why, but I do. Anyway.
This one really succeeds on the strength of the character and the voice, I think. You're right, there are a record few adjectives in it.
Fair enough. Well, we appreciate you reading to us. Thank you.
Thank you.